right, thanks for joining us on Loud and Unfiltered. Today, I am joined by an old friend of mine, Tim King. Typically when I have a guest, I say so-and-so from the band so-and-so. With Tim, it's you got to take a second. Anybody sitting down? Okay, Tim King of Soil, of Embryonic Autopsy, of Pavement Records, of Surface Management. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. With all those titles, Tim, how do you still look as young as you are?
Well, when I got bit by that vampire about 100 years ago, he told me, you're gonna have your plate full. Now, I mean, nowadays, in the music business and stuff, it's kind of like you gotta have your hands in a bunch of cookie jars to
Yeah,
keep things going and things like that. But some of the stuff I'm doing for fun, some of it's like career based and
right,
and
right.
and whatnot. But yeah, it's a lot.
Man,
A
you
lot.
look great. You really do. And I was thinking about it the other day. I'm going to post a picture of us from the last time we saw each other. And me, I aged like a son of a bitch. You, Adam, y'all didn't age at all. I think Ryan and I are the only two out of the four of us that actually age, because you and Adam, the whole vampire thing. Yeah, got to be it,
I appreciate that. I mean, we're
man.
zooming this, so you're still looking good too, my friend. So.
Well, yeah, we used all that Photoshop stuff or whatever you use to make people look good. All right, let's talk about Soil real quick, because you guys have a new covers album out called was it Playing It Forward?
Yeah, play it forward.
Play It
Yeah.
Forward. There we go. Play It Forward. Obviously, a play off of the phrase "Pay It Forward." Big covers album. First off, it is fucking epic. I love it. Front to back. That's like when I wake up in the morning, I'm just chilling out, drinking my coffee. Before I do anything, I throw in the earbuds. And the past few mornings, that's all I've listened to. And hearing the Soil take on all these awesome songs is badass. First off, how did you decide on the group of songs that you did for the album? And have you heard from any of the artists that you covered?
Yeah, I mean, with this, we got offered to do a couple specialty pieces.
Right.
Uh, the covers record being one of them. And Soil's never been a cover band.
No.
We've done we did Black Betty, which is a great song that we play live once in a while and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And on the greatest hits package, we did "Gimme Some Lovin'," which you know is a Spencer Davis group song, but we loved it because we loved the Blues Brothers, and it was
Right.
kind of a Chicago, a rite of passage type song.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
outside of that, we've never been a band to cover anybody's songs. So we took it as kind of a fun little challenge to do.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, it was quite the challenge. I mean, when you actually dive into some of these songs that were recorded, and these artists spent, months recording them, and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars,
Yeah.
recording these albums, and you have to listen for all the little nuances and stuff. It's like, wow, you really not only gain a bigger respect for the song and the artists that originally recorded it,
Right.
but we definitely had more work cut out for us than we anticipated. But we wanted to do it, and we wanted to make it really fun,
Yeah.
because we knew with putting out a piece like this that it could go two ways. Either people could be like, "Oh, geez, they're jumping on the covers bandwagon, and
Right.
when are we getting a new Soil record of originals? This is BS, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
Or people could listen to it and say, "Wow, this is really cool. They did a good job on these songs, and it's really fun to listen to." And
Right.
that was the direction that we went at. And luckily enough, knock on wood, uh, it turned out that way.
Yeah.
And literally, the fan base embraced it. Other people, outside of the base, and like write ups and reviews have all embraced it. And it's really turned out to be exactly what we set out to do. It's just something really fun, something that was not meant to be taken serious, just something that's enjoyable to listen to. And
Yeah.
me personally, when we finish a Soil record, and even now, I rarely listen to our old material. This I've
Oh.
actually found myself going back to, and driving to the Pavement Records office or whatever. I'll turn it on in the Jeep and listen to it and enjoy it.
That's
So
cool.
it accomplished exactly what we wanted it to. So what we did and how we came about it was, we wanted everybody in the band to have an input,
right?
And we also needed to take into consideration songs that we could do that Ryan could sing in his vocal register that weren't like, Rob Halford or Judas Priest songs or something like that, because that's just that's just not in his register. So we had to pick out songs that Ryan could comfortably do in his register, and then songs that we felt would be, tipping a nod to songs that we enjoy and we like. So we put them all in a hat, and we went through a ton of them. And oddly enough, we agreed on all the songs pretty darn fast.
Wow, that's cool.
I always thought that Ryan had kind of a Rob Zombie-esque flair to his voice to begin with. So Thunder Kiss 69 was like a choice of mine. And
65,
me and our drummer,
65.
There's where my mind's going.
I love it.
And and then me and our drummer came up with doing Prong, Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck.
Yeah.
And then like Adam came up with doing the Halsey cover, which is a pop song that we did in more of like a metal fashion. And Ryan came up with Running Down a Dream, and it just we all kind of got a couple in there. That's so that cool. We each kind of had some say. And I made a promise to the guys, since Motley Crue's my favorite band, that I would not bring up doing a Motley Crue song and try to force that in the pipeline, which I didn't. I did want to do. There were some songs that were on the block that we really wanted to do, but either got outvoted or were just like, it's going to be just too much of something to tackle. Like I wanted to do I Want to Be Somebody by Wasp. That was one that I thought would have been really cool, with Ryan's vocals or whatnot. And that one got outvoted. And then we wanted to do a Corrosion of Conformity song.
Right.
And we attacked a couple of those. And boy, I gotta, if Pepper's out there listening to this somewhere, man, you need a pat on the back, because those songs are like real to life, like jam songs. I mean, those are like real musicians playing. And we were trying to work out, a couple songs of that, and we're just like, this is going to take us, half the studio time just to work this out and do it justice. So we kind of put that to the side. So a great, kudos to COC for being such an amazing band. In fact, we swapped out the COC song we wanted to do for Helmet Unsung, which turned out really good. And Tommy Victor and me are friends on Facebook, and I actually sent him the Prong cover and asked him if he'd do a little quote for it, which he did. And we've been kind of throwing that in some advertising here and there.
Cool.
And which has been really cool. And we got the Foo Fighters song, a Monkey Wrench, off to Dave Grohl. And we heard through the grapevine that he gave a little nod and seal of approval to it, and stuff like that. And naturally we can't really go to anybody from the Ramones because they're pretty much all dead at this point. Same with Tom Petty. And the Neil Young song, Neil Young pulled all his songs off Spotify, and we had that song. We had Rockin' in the Free World in the can for months. And it was my idea. I went to everybody and I said, listen, he just pulled his entire catalog off Spotify. There's a little opportunity here. Why don't we release that song a little bit early and give a little tribute to Neil Young and sop up all those people that are looking for his songs. And it turned out really well, because it's gotten, like over 1 million plays already on that song. So a little bit of taking advantage of the system there, but hey, one man's junk is another man's treasure sometimes,
That's epic.
So that release turned out really fun. And, we dedicated our Foo Fighters cover, of Monkey Wrench to Taylor Hawkins. And, that wasn't something that, we were we had that in the can as well already. It wasn't
Yeah.
like we jumped in and tried to capitalize. I was getting a little nervous there for a while because I'm like, wow, Neil Young pulls his songs off Spotify, the tragic death of Taylor Hawkins. I'm like,
Yeah.
I wanted to, send an email over to Rob Zombie and be like, how you feeling? You better take your temperature there. Because, we did Thunder Kiss 65 or, I'm like, we don't need to worry about the Ramones because they're gone. And,
Yeah.
poor Lemmy's already passed away. So
Yeah.
we don't have to worry about anything like that. But I was starting to think that the thing was a little cursed there for a hot minute, but turned out all right. Came out, we're okay.
Yeah, and obviously all said tongue in cheek there. The album is incredible. You hit the nail on the head with your description as far as how fun it is. Now, the production value is like second to none. Like, this is stuff you could almost set a PA to. So how do you guys, living all over the place, you got Ryan across the pond. How do you work out getting into the studio? How does that typically work out for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, this body of recording, because we recorded 22 songs. We did the 11 covers and then 11 Soil songs. So we were in the studio for over 2 months with somewhat of a time crunch. So what we did, and we've never done this before, naturally we flew Ryan over from England.
Yeah.
And, he stayed in Chicago with us, and me and Adam still live here. But what we did with the drums is our drummer TJ lives in Kentucky and has access to an amazing studio. So he actually recorded all the drum tracks in Kentucky off of the pre-production that we did, sent them to Chicago, and then we tracked the guitars and bass. Me and Adam did that.
Yeah.
And then Ryan laid down all the vocals. We had a great producer. His name's Matt Mercado. He's been a friend of mine for, way into the early 90s. And he's even more OCD and anal retentive than I am. So, I mean, he really spent a lot of time making sure everything was as close to the originals as possible while still keeping a great Soil originality to it. But where I really have to give a lot of credit to is Ulrich Wylde, who mixed and mastered the body of work. We sent that over to him, and the mixes were coming back, and they were sounding, like you said, bombastic.
Yeah.
And our guitar player Adam actually said, well, I've been listening to a lot of productions lately from these newer bands that are coming out and things, and it sounds like the drums are a little bit more computerized, and there's some sound effects and things like that. And he's like, could you just ask Ulrich if maybe he could try that production value a little bit so that we stay a little current with what's going on.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, sure. I'm we're a team effort here, so everybody's opinion counts. And I went to Ulrich and I told him those sentiments, and he goes, every band that's recording stuff in their garage and basements and stuff nowadays wish they could sound as bombastic as I'm making these songs go. Tell Adam to shut the hell up, and we're going to keep on going as it is. So I told Adam that, and Adam laughed. He chuckled about it, and Ulrich went and did it with the big rock, gigantic sounding thing that we had.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny, I got a chuckle out of it at least. No offense to everybody who's doing it in the box and has the programmy sounding synthesizers and drums and stuff. I think that stuff's cool too. But Soil being a band that's been around for 25 years, and Ulrich knowing our sound, having done a few records with us, it was just his reaction was so hilarious. He goes, tell Adam to basically stick it, because we're these people that are recording all that other crap are going to wish that they sounded like this. So,
awesome.
I'm like, all right, I can't argue with that.
Hey, Ulrich, you're the king. We bow down. Hey, so Tim, you just mentioned Soil being around, 25 years. And back in the day, I don't know, I can't remember if it was 02 or 03. You guys performed at a festival, and Zakk Wylde joined y'all for Halo.
Yeah, that was Ozfest 2002. And what they were doing is they were recording a live record for Ozfest.
Gotcha.
And each band, had each band that was on the main stage and a few from the secondary stage, us included, got to have songs on the soundtrack. So Zakk Wylde was actually in the Soil and was really into the Scars record. So we had asked him if he'd do it, and it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and he came there. His hair was all in a mess. I think he was still a little hungover, maybe a little still drunk. That was back in his drinking days.
Yeah,
and he just came up there and just shredded on it. That was that's one of those moments where you're telling me about it now, and I kind of think that, wow, did that really happen, or is that something I dreamed about? It was so long ago, and B, it was with one of our heroes growing up.
Yeah, that's and I'll tell you, I'm one of many like fanatic Soil fans, and that is probably one of the most common questions. Has anybody found that video? And it's the answer is typically no. Obviously, the audio is available, but nobody can find that video. And do you have it?
we actually do. We have the footage for it, but I don't know exactly where it is. In fact, I'm the archive guy, and our ex-drummer was an archive guy too.
Gotcha.
And I had recently just gone through all my Soil stuff because it was just piling up, like old magazines and things that we were in.
Yeah.
And I found a box full of some tapes, and there was some high video stuff on there, which I don't have a high video player anymore. It's such old technology. So I think it's on there. In fact, you saying that is going to make me, after we get done with this interview, go and buy one off of eBay and go through those tapes. If I find it, first of all, I'm going to send it to you first to check out, and then we'll post it on YouTube if we find it. But there is actual video of it for sure, because I've seen it.
Yeah.
And our old tour manager, Roger Smith, videotaped it, and we watched it on the bus. So I know it exists, and I know he gave us the old Hi8 video recorder and the tapes. And I believe that I have them.
That's awesome.
If I don't, our old drummer does, and I'm sure he's probably either burned them or done some sort of voodoo curse on them by now.
Right.
So in that case, you'll probably never see it. But if I have them, I'll put it together, and there will be some sort of release on it.
That's awesome. And that's one, going back to the beginning, with the Neil Young and throwing that on Spotify and kind of, reaping some of the rewards. I'll tell you that's one that, any video platform it's on is going to get you a lot of money as far as that goes, because there are a lot of Soil fans that have been looking for that. I mean, you've got Soil fans actively looking for that video, like a lot of these crypto farmers do with Bitcoin and shit. That's what I'm saying. Wow. Yeah, so it's a pretty big deal in the Soil community, is trying to find that video. So, maybe it'll happen. That's cool.
And that was back in the day of the Nokia cell phone, so there was no video cameras on there either. So it's not like today where everything's archived. So.
Yeah.
You'll be the first to find out about it. I'll give you the exclusive on it if I dig it up.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I love to hear that. Now, Tim, you've played every festival, every stage on the planet. Is there one that really jumps out at you? I mean, obviously we just talked about Ozfest, but it could be that answer, but is there a festival or maybe a stage that is like, when you look back on your career, like,
there's actually 3 of them that are like a pinnacle for me.
Yeah.
The first one would be when we played the Hometown Arena with Ozzy Osbourne and Rob Zombie on the Merry Mayhem tour that we did. It was Ozzy, Rob Zombie, Mudvayne, Soil. It was supposed to be called Black Christmas. It turned out to be Merry Mayhem, but we played, it was called the Allstate Arena, but back when I was growing up, it was called the Rosemont Horizon. I saw my very first concert, Bon Jovi and Cinderella there. I saw countless concerts there. And I always said to myself, if I ever get to play this arena,
Yeah.
I'll have made it. And I actually, it's the only time we've ever played it. But we got to play it with Ozzy Osbourne and Rob Zombie, and that
Badass.
was just like a childhood memory
Yeah.
dream. Another one was when we played Download Festival in the UK of 2007. We played the main stage.
Yeah.
Our first time playing the main stage at Download, and when we burst into Halo, there were 80,000 people bouncing up and
What?
down, and it was like a wave. It was literally like an ocean wave, and
Wow.
everybody from, I mean, and my vision kind of sucks nowadays, but I could see actually back then.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody was just singing. They were singing along so loud and moving so much. You could feel the ground rumbling, and they were
Wow.
overpowering the PA system. So that's another one. And then finally, in more recent times,
Yeah.
when, I mean, it's not even recent times; it's 11 years ago now. But
Right.
When Ryan rejoined the band, he had left Soil for a few years,
Hmm.
and when he rejoined, our first show back was in London in the UK. Talk about a trial by fire.
Right.
UK being our biggest market. First show back with Ryan, and we play London, the biggest city out there,
Wow.
with all eyes on us.
Yeah.
In fact, we recorded that show. It's on that Live in London DVD live
Yeah.
record. That's the first concert back with Ryan and the band.
Oh,
And
wow.
we had rehearsed and all, but we hadn't played a show with Ryan at that point in
Yeah.
you know 7 years.
Right.
So playing that, I that whole show I had just goosebumps because I look over and I see Adam, I see Ryan, and I'm like, wow. I'm like,
Yeah.
so this is what Soil is all about. And the
That's
years that Ryan
awesome.
wasn't, it's kind of like one of those things of you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, we are really Soil again. It looks
Badass.
like Soil. It sounds like Soil. And we had at the time John Wasaki from Stain playing
Yep.
drums for us
Hmm.
because he had left Stain. So not only do I have John Wasaki from Stain behind me, which is a phenomenal drummer, and as a
Yep.
bass player, locking in as the rhythm section, we had it
Yeah.
down pat. I've got the original Soil singer Ryan there. I got my brother in arms Adam, who's been there with me since day one from 1990 on.
Right.
We've been playing music together. It was one of the most magical moments of my entire life musically because I was just like,
Badass.
we're back, and
Yeah.
it could have all ended after that show, and I would have been like, that was I would have ended it on a happy note, but here we are 11 years later still talking about it.
That's so awesome. Yeah, and you could hear it in your voice, and it's crazy is because you were talking about you being back on stage with Ryan, and you had the goosebumps, and dude, the passion in your voice, the way I was getting goosebumps. I was like, man, I feel like we're about to run out, play football or something. I don't know what's going on, but like it really got me pumped up. How excited you are telling that story, and I was just like, and I mean, in radio and all that, we have theater of the mind. You have to paint that picture for the viewer or the listener, and that story you just told was absolutely epic. I don't care if anybody else got the same impression, but man, that gave me goosebumps. That was awesome.
Thanks, man.
All right, Tim King from Soil. Now, let's shift gears a little bit because we're talking about you on stage, but you've got so much more going on in your life besides Soil and Embryonic Autopsy, which is a freaking awesome band. Oh my gosh, it just crushes. We'll talk about that band here in a little bit. But with Pavement, you guys have a hell of a lineup. I don't want to get too deep into this because Cody Hanson from Hinder has a question kind of related to this, but in the whole label and management world, what's the day in the life like for you, when you're not on tour?
Yeah. I mean, I was me and my label and management partner Mark Nawara. We've had Pavement going now we're on our 10th year,
Yeah.
and 2 years with the management company. And Mark was in Arizona, and he had been working with Head from Korn. He did the Save Me From Myself book and the subsequent album soundtrack to that book. And then Head went back to Korn. So Mark returned back to Chicago from Arizona, where he was living, and I still had Soil going, but we were at kind of a little bit of a low point. Ryan hadn't come back yet.
Right.
We were just kind of maintaining. So he's like, "Hey, you want to go out to lunch? I'm back in Chicago." And I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you have going on? I'm like, "Well, Soil's still going, but we're operating on about 6 out of the 8 cylinders right now." But we're still going. I'm like, "What's going on with you?" He's like, "Well, Head went back to Korn. I'm looking to start something up again and stuff." He's like, "I'm thinking about resurrecting Pavement. Pavement originally was part of Zoo Entertainment, BMG back in the day, and they launched like Crowbar. They launched Crowbar's career, and had like Malevolent Creation, Scatterbrain, Gilby Clark, all kinds of stuff. But it was put on hiatus when Zoo got bought out by Volcano, and they got rid of the distributed labels. That's when Mark started, going into other things. He's like, "I'm thinking about resurrecting Pavement," and I'm like, he's like, "Would you like to be partners with me in it? You handle all the A&R, I'll do all the CEO running the label distribution stuff, and we'll combine all of our talents into one superhuman being." And I'm like, that sounds great. And we used our various connections and stuff, and we got a distribution from Sony, and I started reaching out to some bands I knew, and I brought Soil over to the label because we had finished our contract with Beeler Brothers, right, who we were with at the time. So I moved Soil over there, and we got Dark New Day, which was the super group with Clinton Corey Lowry and Will Hunt and Troy from Evanescence. And that was actually the first record we put out through Pavement, was the Dark New Day Hail Mary record.
Oh, okay.
And then we just started gathering up the roster. We did a Puddle of Mud, the Rediscovered album. We did that in Europe, and we just started building up the roster, and things just started getting bigger and bigger. And now we've got Ted Nugent, we've got Candlebox, we've got Soil, we've got Powerman 5000, PE, Puddle of Mud. Just a plethora of great established artists, and a lot of great new ones. We have a new band called Plush, which is an all-female group that we started from scratch. I mean, we literally started it in the boy band mentality, and put together an all-girl group the way you would put together like an all-boy group. We held auditions. Wow. They didn't know each other previously, and that's what we formed the management company around. Is we wanted to get into management. Wow. And I was sitting during COVID. We stopped going into the office, and oddly enough, and it's weird how all this stuff ties in, but Patrick Kensington, who's in Lita Ford, was in Union Underground, who you said that I have to ask some questions to for this. He had a feed of him playing something live. It was like an acoustic song, or something, on Facebook. And I clicked on it because I love Patrick. I think he's an awesome talent. He's a good friend. And I was watching it, and I got up. I was on my deck. I got up to go refill my iced tea, and COVID, everybody's at home working, and I come back and I hear Barracuda, the Heart song. Yeah. Only it's not Heart doing it, but the vocals are just shredding my mind. Yeah. I look, and it's an artist named Mariah Formica, and she was doing a cover of that, and I'm like, oh my God! So I stopped dead in my tracks. I looked her up, and I just sent a little message just on Facebook. I said, I've been in this music business forever, and rarely do I ever stop dead in my tracks and jaw drop. I said, your cover of Barracuda just blew my mind. Great job. Keep up the good work. Yeah. A day later, she writes me back and says, I looked at your profile, and wow, you're in Soil. You got this label, this, that. Would it be all right if I had my dad talk to you about, what I'm doing and stuff? And, at that time, we were all still signing the legacy acts, like the candle boxes and stuff like that. We really, we didn't dabble with any solo artists
Yeah.
or really try to, get involved with single players and stuff.
Right.
And under normal circumstances, I probably would have been so busy that I would have just, not been able to take a phone call or just not had the time to do it. But it's during COVID. I was sitting there with my thumb up my ass. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll talk to your dad. What the hell? I want to talk to somebody. My wife is in the veterinarian industry, so she was an essential worker and still working. So I'm at home by myself with our Shih Tzu, talking to him all day because of COVID. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll talk to your dad. And we hit it off, and he played me some of her solo songs, and I loved them. So I talked to Mark about it, and we were like, well, why don't we launch this management company and pick up Mariah as our first client and see if we can kind of develop her career. And we did that. And then I came up with the idea of, hey, there hasn't been an all-girl band that's just broke out gigantic in a long time. There's been female-fronted bands like Hailstorm, In This Moment, New Year's Day. The list goes on, all fantastic bands, but it's a great, very talented, good-looking female, surrounded by a bunch of dudes in black with dreadlocks and all the other stuff. So I'm like, the last band I can remember that was all girl that really, really broke out was like Kitty, and before that Vixen, and before that the Runaways. So I'm like, why don't we try to make a 2020 version of those bands?
Hell
so we started holding auditions on Instagram and Zoom and things like that, and put the band together. And we already had the whole band together and things moving before they had even been in a room together. Whoa. And it was just crazy. So, producer Johnny K, who's a longtime friend of mine, really loved what was going on. And I got him involved, and he, when I let him hear it, he's like, you gotta, he was the one that actually pushed me towards like the management sector. He's like, you gotta start working with this girl. She's fantastic. I'm like, well, if I pick her up for management, will you be the producer? And he's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we went in with Johnny K, cut some songs, one of them being the song Hate, which perpetuated them, all over radio and to great lengths. And I called up my buddy Will Hunt from Evanescence and said, hey man, if you do me this favor and put Plush on the Evanescence Hailstorm tour you have coming up, or can help, I'll give you a Willy Wonka golden ticket for you to cash in with me later on. And he's like, and Will's just like the greatest guy on the face of the planet, and such a great friend, and such a great drummer. I mean, he played the drums on the last Soil record, and it's my favorite Soil record that we've ever done, the record whole, the last studio record. And he did it. He made it happen. He talked to Amy Lee, and Amy was into the band and into the idea, and it happened, because of Will Hunt. So
that's so
I'm
cool.
like, I'm still waiting for him to cash in the favor that I'm going to owe him. I hope, which I'm more than happy to oblige.
Right.
And that really perpetuated the band's career. We've been going on with that. So I kind of got into management on just kind of a whim. It was just kind of a COVID thing. And,
wow,
that's been keeping me real busy. And, we did those 22 Soil songs over COVID. And, the next thing is we gotta kind of reinvigorate Soil into touring the aspect,
Amen.
COVID, locked everything down. This year's been the year of all the makeup tours. And then now with like the gas prices and the shortages of buses and all that, we just decided to lay low a little bit extra.
Right.
Let all the makeup tours happen. Let all the mistakes happen post COVID, and then we'll come back 2023, ready to roll and let all the past, mistakes and baggage and lack of transportation and all that, be somebody else's problem, and we'll just come back in and do what we always do: hop on stage and hop in the bus and play Halo 100 more times.
Okay, Tim. So a minute ago, you talked about Patrick, Patrick Kennison, and he's got a question for you. That's actually kind of where we're at right now. You get to ask our next guest, Patrick Kennison, a question. So we're going to get to that in a second. But from Cody Hanson of Hinder, He's got 2 questions for you. This was our last episode. Okay. Tim, since you've now been on the management side of things for a while, is there a difference in your mindset on what's important when trying to break a band as opposed to when you were only an artist? That's the first question.
That's a great question. And by the way, Cody, if you're listening, I love you, brother. We toured with Hinder back in, I think it was 2019, and we just had a blast with those guys. And they're such great dudes. So hope to do that again sometime in the future. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a great question because I've actually told people about this a few times, and you know, a lot of people come to me and they're like, hey, you're watching Plush play with Evanescence and Hailstorm in arenas, and you're sitting on the side of the stage watching them do this. Don't you wish that you were on stage doing that instead of on the sidelines, you know, watching it? And my answer always is I've already been there. I was on stage with Ozzy Osbourne and Rob Zombie the same way Plush was on stage with Evanescence and Hailstorm. So I get to see the other side of it. And looking back on it, I'm like, boy, I was a real dick to our managers back then. I wish I would have been a lot nicer because, you know, when you're the artist, you're like, why isn't this happening? And why isn't that happening? Why are we not traveling in this? And why don't we have that tour? Why don't we have this tour? And, you know, not saying that Plush is, you know, abusing me or my partner, Mark, by any means. They're very polite, very appreciative girls. And I love them all. You know, like they're my own daughter. But I'm thinking that, and I'm like, you know what? I've already been there and done that. And now I get to be on the other side of it, watching somebody else get the exact same opportunity that I had and being able to take the mistakes that I made and show them what not to do and be able to take the good things and the successes that we have and be able to make it so that they can get things faster than we did and not have to have that, you know, big uphill grind so much as we did. And, you know, we kind of proved it with Plush because they kind of came out of nowhere and all of a sudden have been on all these crazy, great tours. And, you know, I'm patting myself on the back for the Evanescence Hailstorm tour, but we also have a couple great agents, Ken Fermagowicz and Brian Vestano from United Talent. And they got the girls on Alice in Chains and Slash and Wolfgang Van Halen and just and Daughtry and these great opportunities, the Danny Wimmer Festival. So literally, these girls got to basically alleviate the 5 years of grinding it out in vans and Red Roof Inns and playing in front of 5 people a night and you know, sitting on dirty toilet seats at the clubs because there's nowhere else to go to the bathroom at, to, you know, opening up for arena sized things and things because I was able to use, you know, the connections and perpetuate them in the way that, you know, that Soil was able to do and things that I learned from back then. So it's a very different thing. It's made me appreciate our old managers and the people that I've worked with that were representing Soil at the time, and kind of maybe it's one of those things of, you know, when you have a kid and they're like, and the kid's a little terror, and you're like, well, you're getting everything you deserve because that's the way you acted, so, you know, now when, you know, I get, you know, a request of like, well, why aren't we on this tour, or why aren't we staying at, you know, this hotel room? I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm getting it back for when I was saying those type of things.
It all comes full circle, full circle. But, and you know, Tim, this the whole basis of this podcast, Loud and Unfiltered, is to take the audience backstage with the storytellers in like music, art, and entertainment. And yours, I just always loved hearing your story and all the different layers and elements that's gone into it, because I mean, you're one of the greatest success stories. I mean, it's just, I mean, obviously you could probably talk for hours and hours and hours and just, I mean, but your success story is just so incredible and inspiring. I think it's really neat that you get to share it like this. It's, I consider it an honor. I really do. Now, this part of the show, I'm going to ask you Cody's second question. And this all, I guess he was getting a little, I don't know if he was drinking. He's like, or Tim, have you ever wondered what red penis tastes like?
Well, no, I've never wondered what that's been like, but not that there's anything wrong with that, because you got to watch everything you say nowadays. But that's just that's not something that I would like to partake in.
No, not at all.
At least in this lifetime. Maybe maybe in my life after this one, when I get reincarnated, might be up my alley. But no. Or my rhetorical question to that could be, well, Cody, present it. Sure, bro, present it.
It's just like those Twitter wars between like Wendy's and McDonald's and shit. That's there you go, Cody. So we're the ball's in his court now. But also, this is the point of the show where you get to ask Patrick a question. He's our next guest, and so what do you got for Patrick, Tim?
Well, for Patrick, I'm not going to ask him if he wants to lick on my balls or anybody else or any Red Rockets. But Patrick and me go way back. I love you, Patrick. So glad that we've both been in this business and maintained for so long. Super, super, super proud of you and all that he's done. Just an amazing guitar player, amazing person.
Oh yeah.
But what I do want to ask him is, him and I both have a huge, like probably over natural obsession with Motley Crue.
Yes.
an unhealthy obsession with Motley Crue. And when we first did one of the first early Soil tours for Scars, we were out with the Union Underground.
Yeah.
And I instantly bonded with those guys because they were Motley Crue fanatics. And back then, you know how you were talking about getting a copy of Zakk Wylde playing with Soil? Well, us Crue fanatics were trying to get a copy of Motley Crue at the US Festival. And that's what we were talking about. And we're like, man, have you ever been able to see that? And I literally, like months later, because I made it my mission to find it, I got a copy off of eBay, and I bought one for me and one for him and gave him a copy of it. So, here's my question for Patrick. Since we are both, super diehard Motley Crue fans, and it's something that's very recent, I'd love to know your take on Motley Crue saying that they were going to do the end tour and not come back and end on a high note, and then coming back and doing the stadium tour and basically going back on everything they said after they kind of ripped on bands like Kiss and Ozzy and bands that have done farewell tours and come back and played afterwards.
Right.
And the second part of my question is, how do you feel about Mick Mars being replaced for South America and the European tours? And do you think that that's right of Motley Crue to do that, or do you think that with Mick bowing out, they should have completely bowed out? I have my own opinions on it, and it's so hard for me to take, because being such a Motley Crue fan and have been there through, I've been, my first album I heard was Shout at the Devil when it first came out. I was on the playground, and my friend had brought it to school because he took it from his older brother. So I've been to Motley Crue since Shout at the Devil came out, all the way up until this very moment we're talking here. And they've always been that band that I could always go to anytime, anywhere, any place, and feel comfort and take comfort in, and know that they were true to what they did, and that they were the real deal, and that they were there for the fans. And I'm kind of a little bummed out with the last couple of moves they made. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm never going to listen to them again. I'm not saying that I deplore them and I'm denouncing my Motley Crue loyalty or thing, but I am a tad disappointed, and I'd love to hear what Patrick thinks about that as well, because he's about the only other person I equate to as a nutty Motley Crue fan to the extent that I am.
Well,
considering both of us stole Nikki Sixx's hairdo, and I ripped off most of his bass moves throughout my career in Soil. So I I probably owe Nikki Sixx quite a bit of royalties.
I was just about to say you both look like you belong in Motley Crue. That's great. Oh yeah, I can't wait to hear what Patrick has to say about that. So, and I can't wait till you hear what Patrick has to say about that. Now, Tim, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. First off, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. But we end the show with the Unfiltered finale, which is basically just a handful of stupid questions, just to kind of end on a light note and all that. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And without further ado, here's your first question.
You know what, Frank? Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah.
Can I just say this before we end this? I just want to give a huge thank you to you for all that you've done over the years. I mean, you were with Soil from day one. You're still here. Mm-hmm. Anytime we put out a new song, anytime we do something new, you're always on top of it. You've always supported my Pavement artists. You are like, in this business, it's very hard to have true friends and true loyalty. Wow. You're one of those people that has, bar none, been there every step of the way. And I love you like a brother. And I just want to really say thank you to that. And I look forward to the time that we can do a little bit more liver damage to each other and drink, because every time I get together with you, yes, I feel like I need to go on dialysis. So I can't wait till that happens. But before, just in case we run out of time or whatever, I just had to say that to you, bro.
Oh, you know what, Tim, thank you. And, words can't describe what your friendship has meant to me throughout the years. I mean, it's I know I've told you many times how Soil music has gotten me through good times and bad times. It's always been there for me, and to actually to call you my friend and my brother is just truly an honor, and I love you from the bottom of my heart, brother.
Oh, right back at you, my man.
All right, let's end on some laughs, because otherwise I'm going to start crying, because Tim's trying to make me feel bad.
Sounds good to me.
All right, Tim, your first question for the Unfiltered finale. What's something you'd rather do than calm an angry woman?
Than calm an angry woman?
Yeah, calm an angry woman, because you don't calm angry women.
I thought you said comb, like brush their hair.
No, calm.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Calm an angry woman. I think I'd rather jump off a bridge, to be honest with you. Right into Lake Michigan. Yeah. I've tried to do that with my wife several times, and it doesn't end well.
I'm right there with you. That's why I've got the studio door closed for this as well, because I don't want any projectiles coming my way from her. All right, the second one is, what useless thing in your house do you refuse to throw away?
Oh boy, there's just so many of them. I have this remote control from a TV set that I haven't had in like 6 years, but it's like one of my favorite remotes because of how easy it was to use. Right. And it does nothing but sit in the remote basket. And I should have thrown it out a million times, but for some reason it still reminds me of what a perfect TV would be like if it still worked. So it's odd, but that's like the most useless thing in my house.
It's funny you say that, because I was just cleaning some stuff out of my closet, and I found a remote to a DVD player that I haven't had this DVD player in 5 years. And instead of throwing this remote away, I just put it right back where I found it, and just
great minds think alike, because I do the same thing.
All right, your final question, Tim, and we'll let you go. What's your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure is saltwater aquariums and marine life. I love the ocean. I love marine and reef and saltwater aquariums. In fact, up until a couple of years ago, I had like 4 of them in the house, and it just got so tough because my wife would have to take care of them, or I'd have to have somebody come and take care of them if we went out of town and stuff. And I just threw my hands up, and I'm just like, I just want to be able to just to shut the door to the house and not look back, because they're a lot of work, but I love that. In fact, before my very first band, Oppressor, got signed to a record deal, I was prepared to become a marine biologist, believe it or not. And every time we're in town somewhere, I always look up where the nearest aquarium is to go visit. And Anytime we're
Wow.
around somewhere where I can snorkel or dive, I jump in. So that's definitely my guilty pleasure.
That's badass. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to start thinking of some aquariums that I've been to and hit you up sometime to see if you've been there and we'll trade stories. I don't know. Well,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
hey, Tim, I love you, my brother, and thank you so much for joining us on Loud and Unfiltered. And I can't wait to see you again. It's going to happen soon, especially since you talked about, hey, we got to get this soil tour machine running again. So I will see you on the road at some point. So I hope you have a great one, and thanks for joining us, brother.
You too, man. Love you, Frank, and thank you for the interview. And cheers to all the soil fans out there.
There's a lot of us, I guarantee it.
Awesome.
Thanks. Hey, I'm Frank Payne, the host of Loud and Unfiltered. Thanks once again for checking out this episode. I'd like to thank Tim King for joining us today. I love that dude. Make sure you follow his band's Soil on social media. His new band, Embryonic Autopsy. Boy, they are brutal. Check them out as well. He's got Pavement Records and, of course, Surface Management. And if you're an aspiring rock star, you're an up-and-comer, you need a little direction. Holler at Tim on social media or Surface Management. They do have some developmental deals that they do as well. If you've got the right stuff, that is. Like his band Plush. Love those girls. Hey, appreciate you guys joining us once again. Check out the website, DaleJr.forPresident.com. I'm not sure if I have to say this or not, but we are not affiliated with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and or his desire to run for president. Just that was the only thing available, as loudandunfiltered.com was not. So Dale Jr. for President.com. We've got our merch store. I'd appreciate it if you bought some merch. That way you put a little food in my belly and some money in my bank account, because that's what makes the world go round. Have a fantastic one, y'all. Remember, be a good human and stay loud and unfiltered.